This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. President Trump is going to sign an executive order today adjusting Obamacare, doing at least in part what the GOP-controlled Congress failed to do. He's going to make it easy. This executive order, according to the Wall Street Journal report, will make it easier for small businesses to band together across state lines to buy insurance through association health plans. Also, the group plans could bypass regulations under Obamacare, including the coverage of emergency services, mental health, prescription drugs, maternity and newborn care as essential health benefits. May also roll back restrictions on short-term medical insurance and allow people to buy limited protection coverage for up to a year. And thinking about this and the GOP's failure, it was interesting. I got a call to the show, Amy, from a local doctor, Naperville area doctor. Turns out it's a family of doctors. And I just was appreciative for his call. I call him back. And number one, he tells me how brilliant I am. So,
oh my gosh! And then once the pleasantries were done, he told you about the devastating hardships of Obamacare on his business.
It was mostly about my brilliance, but we did ultimately get to Obamacare after he was just on and on and on about how brilliant I am.
Enough about me. What do you think of me?
I mean, really, doctor, please, let's focus on the issue. That's what I said. And but it was he was just trying to get this is a successful doctor who's trying to get the attention of members of Congress, including his own congressman, Randy Hultgren, about the real world implications for both him as a, just another American family paying for insurance to access quality care, as well as also being a provider of quality care. And to try and take this out of the abstract and the kind of the policy nature of it at a 30,000-foot level and give people a perspective from a practitioner, day-to-day practitioner, trying to achieve good health outcomes for his patients. I thought it would be useful after having a conversation with him. And so pleased to have Dr. Kent Mercado. He is a Naperville area podiatrist. And phisian joins us now. Dr. Mercado, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it. Joining me again.
Yes. Thank you so much. You also said nice things about Amy.
Yes, you did.
Yeah,
that's true.
Dan, don't forget about that.
I blocked those out. But yes, you did. So the purpose of your call, I just think it's interesting because you're just trying to get, like any other citizen, trying to get the attention of your elected representatives to impart some knowledge on them, to enlist them to address things that they're failing to address that are having really deleterious effects for you as a doctor, as a medical professional, but also for your patients, and kind of prompting you to try and find an audience wherever you could.
Well, I mean, some of the things that I'd even expressed to you, whenever you have something where my personal premiums, just as a person, went up 66%, up to $2,574 a month. And it's gone up over 300% since the start of the ACA. I'm trying to figure out what part of affordable this is. I know the average mortgage is about $1,000 a month. This is 2.5 times that. And everything from the lowering of the patient's payments, the cost shifting from the insurance company to the patient, from that perspective is interesting. I know that some of the insurance companies, such as Meridian, after you bill it, they have decreased it down to about 15% of what you bill. And some of the other ones that are the ACA Medicaid programs, I've yet to be paid in 2017 for any patient that I've seen.
And you can't turn down or do you Medicaid patients? You
can. I choose to take every patient. That's my policy. That's how I was raised. That's how my family did that. We take care of everybody. We take care of everybody the same. And we're very consistent about providing excellent care. We're small. We're a small group, so we can do that. We can spend time with our patients. And I pride myself on my ability to have that opportunity to do that. And I will treat somebody with excellent insurance or no insurance the same exact way.
So you've seen your insurance premiums increase 300% since the advent of Obamacare, 66% in the last year. You're getting 15 cents on the dollar for what you charge the government for the services you provide to Medicaid-eligible patients, and you've not gotten paid at all in 2017. We're 10 and a half months in. I mean, give me a sense of what we're talking about financially and how that impacts you and your business and your ability to continue to provide care to patients.
Well, I didn't take a paycheck.
This
so
year?
I'm just making sure that, I've taken some paychecks this year. I've taken 5 out of 19 paychecks.
Wow.
All right, so how else has Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, affected your business?
Okay, well, I mean, it's not only, it's also the access that the patients have with it. For example, I have a patient that has a bone tumor. I can't do that procedure on her in my office. I have to do it in the hospital. And none of the hospitals that I'm on 10 hospitals, will take her because they have not been paid by that. So I'm trying to do that, so even if I'm going to probably have to do it as a gratis thing for the hospital, or the hospital will have to do it as a gratis thing. But I haven't been able to get anybody to accept her as a patient.
Well, so
we're living in America.
Well, you've taken 1/4 of the paychecks you normally take in a calendar year. So how does this end for you and your practice, and by extension, your patients?
Well, I'll be out of business. Is what's going to happen. I can't continue to do that. It's like the person selling gas at 10 cents a penny. Just say, don't worry about it. I'll make money because I'll make it on volume.
Right.
Well, how do you deal with your patients? I mean, who have to, the woman that you just mentioned with the tumor on her bone. I mean, there's got to be some compassion at some point in time. You're obviously displaying that and showing that. But what about these hospitals?
No. I mean, I don't know how the hospitals are handling it, but I know that. Even, I believe, McNeil just got bought out by the Loyola system because they can't keep on going because they're not being paid by the state. So all of these things, it's affecting everybody. It's not just me. I mean, even all the some of the Medicaid patients that have to travel 80 miles. I have patients. I must be the only one in my specialty that takes this. I get patients from Dixon, from Wilmington, from Round Lake. All over the place. The other part that's upsetting to me is that the majority of my patients have such high deductibles, and it turns out that's 40% of what my revenue is. Years ago, it was 40% was Blue Cross. Now Blue Cross just shifts that cost and brings it to the patient in the form of a high deductible, in the form of high copays. Patients are now having. I just had a patient that had a $100 copay. So she's going to be limited. I talked to a bunch of different doctors to see their experiences, and one of the doctors was talking about a patient that had some back and rib pain, and she wouldn't come in because she had so many things. He gave her the muscle relaxers, and he finally said, "Come on, let me take an X-ray." She goes, "Oh, I can't afford the X-ray." He ate the cost of the X-ray. He just did it in his office, and it turned out she had a lesion. It turned out she had a metastatic bone tumor, but she wasn't going to go to see anybody because she couldn't afford her $7,000 deductible.
So this is the classic case of, I have insurance, but I don't get care because I can't afford the care.
I can't afford the care. So it's just because you have insurance doesn't mean that you'll receive the medical care needed. I mean, many doctors and hospitals found that the Obamacare insurances don't pay, whether it's due to the state or things. It's interesting just how they organize it.
And so
they're not providing. It's a misnomer. I really do think not misnomer, but it's what they're telling you is that they're saying, yes, on paper we have coverage for X amount of millions of people, but if you can't have access to doctors because they're not going to take you, and if you can't have access because you can't afford to pay for it, then that's it's misleading. It's saying, I have a piece of paper that says I have insurance, but it's impractical for someone to use it.
So, but by comparison, particularly for people who were paying their own freight prior to Obamacare, and were the classic case of I was happy with my my doctor and I wanted to keep him or her, but I couldn't. So, what has this resulted in? It sounds like you're saying, at least from your patients' experience, some of them is so you have higher costs and worse results.
Well, I believe that personally, but they've also done a shifting because in 2010, 70% of the doctors were independent, and now by 2015, 70-something% are in groups. The individual practitioner cannot afford to to stay in practice. There's a lot of rules and regulations within the Obamacare things, not only from some of these doing your EMR, your medical records, but a lot of the different policies in place in order for you to keep in practice. Is in a big group you can do that because you have just economy of the scales. But for an individual practitioner, people could not stay in practice, and that's why they're being absorbed by these larger companies and corporations.
I know it's early, but President Trump is going to sign that executive order today. Is that going to change anything for you?
I think that's going to be. I believe that's a wonderful first start because there's certain things that you can do. I've never been a fan of the Affordable Care Act. However, I do realize that my office would not be able to survive it, and how devastating this was to my office. I would not be able to survive another hit as they're trying to implement something else. But as far as the things go, absolutely, that's a wonderful first step because not only are you talking about being able to buy insurance across state lines, which seems very obvious when you have multiple areas, such as in Arizona, they had one provider and it became a monopoly. And in order for them to stay in Arizona, they allowed them to double their rates to make it 100% increase. So this way you'll be able to at least begin to lower that. The general directions about allowing people to go ahead. I happen to have an individual policy, and as an individual policy, a lot of the caps of only 10%. When you hear them say, it only went up 10 or 15% as far as premiums. Well, that was the group insurance policies. The individual policies went up 50, 60, 70. I thought it was horrible that I had a $2,500 a month thing until I talked to one of the other doctors who told me he pays $3,700 a month.
Mm. And one of the other points you made when we spoke is this issue of people actually being overinsured with mandated services. Explain.
Well, I mean, there are multiple things. I think there's 9 things that every insurance company is supposed to have on there, which is including
the essential benefits, right?
The essential benefits. I honestly believe that having an a la carte system or having either a health savings plan or a high deductible plan would help a lot of people, particularly in there. I personally don't need fertility treatment,
right? As
part of my thing. I have 3 kids, and if they need it, I can make sure I pay for insurance for them to have it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
I would like to I'd rather have a huge deductible and pay $10,000 a deductible, pay $1,000 a month. I'd still be saving money.
And one other thing I just wanted to get to your experience. You mentioned Medicaid reimbursement, 15 cents on the dollar, but also the backdoor government takeover. Central to that was the expansion of Medicaid to people who the Medicaid program is never intended to serve. You're talking about people that are middle, even upper income families.
Well, I'm in an area in Naperville, which is an upper middle class area, and I probably have 20% of my patients have this insurance. I'm pretty sure in the area that I'm at, the average house is somewhere between $400,000 and $600,000. I understand that it was supposed to be 5 times the base rate as far as poverty, and of course, depending on how many children we have, it can go up a little bit. But I never thought it would apply towards people that have that type of income.
Yeah,
and I think there's a lot of it. I mean, we're talking about a very high percentage of the people, 10, 15, 20% of the people really never should have done that. I think everybody should have skin in the game, pay something, even if it's $5 a month, $10 a month, $100 a month if they can afford it. Kind of a sliding scale to go ahead and do that. But to go ahead and to look at it, I can see to know that people are absolutely taking advantage of the situation.
He is Dr. Kent Mercado. He's a Chicagoland physician. Dr. Mercado, thanks so much for joining us, giving us your practitioner's perspective on Obamacare's existence and what it really means, as well as the consequences from Republicans' failure to replace it. We really appreciate your time.
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to thank you. I appreciate both of you guys.
Yeah, and God bless you for the work you do for free. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.